just to get a poll, I know a lot of these people in the room are from Dallas County, so I know what ERP you are on. But how many people are in here on Colleague? Okay, so 1, 2. And Banner? Okay. And PeopleSoft? All right. So at least we're all Ellucian customers, so you can talk to your Ellucian representatives. And are you how many people are still manually entering all their test scores? So 1, 2, oh, almost everybody. So that's not good. That's why we're here. What we did was we knew this was coming, and we knew there was no way we could input all of these test scores for 7 colleges for that many students and not clog up our advising lines. Okay. On August 26th at midnight that night, we switched over to the TSIA test, and we turned on our upload of test scores into the system, as well as our PAA, our pre-assessment, or PAA, our pre-assessment. We had a pre-assessment video that was available on our eConnect, which is our web advisor for Colleague customers, or it's our web portal for any other SIS, where the student would complete the video, take a small test, and then they would get a restriction code, and that restriction code would go on the system, so that would allow advising to know and the testing center to know that that student had already been done their pre-assessment activity so that they could take the test. So it's not exactly simple to do this, but it is doable. Okay? And from the AccuPlacer website, we worked with Pearson, who was contracted with College Board to be able to allow us to do this download. We created a Windows server. We don't let anybody push information into our ERP system, nor do we allow anybody to pull it out. We always push the data in, and we pull the data in, or pull the data out. So inside our firewall, these test scores came into our Windows server that was set up and helped to configure with Pearson, because we had 7 colleges, each with their own ID for the AccuPlacer testing. And we worked with them to get those test scores merged in that XML format so that we could do a single download of those scores every 15 minutes. So there is a small gap between the time the student takes it, but most of the time, from getting to the testing center back to advising, or getting from the testing center back to the line in advising, you had plenty of time for those scores to be uploaded. And that was very helpful because, as you know, the students do not hold on to that piece of paper. And our testing center was not really looking forward to having to reprint or print all of that information.
Do you, in the pull from AccuPlacer, is there some script that you use to be able to review? Sometimes students take tests multiple times a day. Okay.
Yes, we got it. We're going to go through that. Yeah. Yes, we do. We get everything. And believe me, no matter how much we test, we can never find the scenarios that our students can come up with. We're still always thrown off. So yes, once these tests come into our ERP, which for us is Colleague, we actually put them in an archive file. We don't directly import them into the actual student information regular files. First we archive it, and the reason we do that is in case things do not load correctly, we know what happened. Okay, we can go out there and view it. Then we take it from the archive, we translate it into our fields. Because it's an XML, it gets translated into our file format so that we can extract the student's information, the tests that they're taking, and all of that data that's coming across with it. We check for duplicates, and we validate. Student ID, last name, date of birth, and we check to make sure that the test is a different test, because as you stated, students will take the test multiple times. We will put all of the test scores in, but we make sure, because the way that Pearson sends the test scores in, once a day they kind of merge to make sure they didn't lose any and send you kind of a combined file. And you need to make sure that if you've already updated it, you're not creating records that aren't necessary. We do create errors so that when that does occur, there's an error report that can be given to us so we can review it and make sure that it's working correctly. Once we confirm that everything's correct, then of course we write it to, if you're a colleague customer, it's your student non-courses is where you put your test scores. Wherever you put your test scores in for that student, that's what we're writing the records to. Originally we did not have all the diagnostic data because Pearson was not sending it all, or College Board, whichever one. We work with both of them so much. But we always intended to. So the minute it was available, we mapped it into our system. All of our diagnostics are exactly what we did was take the manual and hard code. So if you got this code 1 or 2, then we wrote the hard code that was in the manual so that our people didn't have to keep going to the manual to look it up, okay? So we're going to pull all that data. We've had as many as, what'd she say, 364 duplicates. And one of the issues we first hit, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, is that the essays sometimes take longer to come in. So you may get one download of the file and the essay's pending. So we had to make sure that we did go back and update that pending score with the actual value when it came in. At first we were looking at it as a duplicate and it was going into the error file, and then we had to make adjustments for that. By putting the data into our own custom files in our colleague system, we were able to create then other screens for people to access this data. Any X screen you see is a custom screen that we've created. They're not hard. They're just reading tables that we've created, views that we've created. We have a special screen for faculty, we have a special screen for advisors, and we have the actual advising report that both the student can see and the advisors can look at as well from our system. eConnect is our web advisor for those colleague people, and all of our people can access from here. Well, advisors can't, can they?
Mm-hmm. Well,
no, they can. I don't think so. Maybe they can. We update so much I can't keep straight. So this is what the scores would look like. Notice ABE, DM2, score 3, score 1, the test dates. And here's an example of what those mean over there. We found we needed to put that information on there. At first we didn't have it, and they didn't know what they were looking at. Okay. So here's what, on the advising report, this is all that shows because our advisors have been trained so that they know what those values are. And then here's the screen that we have in Colleague where they can go in and look at it. If you notice, there's a detail button over at the end. And when you detail, you can see what those results mean. So these results suggest that you have the ability to add, subtract, multiply, and divide whole numbers up to 3 digits, et cetera, so that they get a good idea of exactly what that diagnostic data meant. Okay. But as you can see, we've given them almost every piece of information that you could see. Oh, this was one of them's the ABE screen. This is the developmental ed screen. So we have one for both. On our faculty, when they go to their class roster, we do show for all their classes what their TSI status is in all areas, so that you can see for this instance they're all not met. And then if they detail in on that student, they can see the student's whole diagnostic data profile for all of those areas. This has really helped the faculty, especially the ones who may not necessarily be in reading, writing, or math, but have those as parts of their course, such as the sciences and some other areas that don't necessarily, they may require reading, but they don't require writing, but they can see where they might need to help improve their classes in those areas. Okay. And we did go back and put in the total score up here so that you can see what their total score was, as well as all their diagnostic data. Okay, as you stated, identify duplicate records of the same test so that you're not putting them in all the time. We had to figure out about the delayed grading, score pending. That took a little bit of time and some issues. The casing, sometimes it's uppercase, sometimes it's lowercase, sometimes it's mixed. We had to do a format so that it didn't matter. It would still come in correctly. Test names changed, and not all test strands had names in the beginning. We actually created a parameter screen because as they change, then we can change our parameter and we don't have to recreate. We had them originally hard-coded, all right? That didn't work after the third change. We were like, this is, College Board keeps changing it, we're going to keep changing it. So we might as well have a screen. Multiple campuses and multiple testing sites. We had to work closely with the testing council, and in fact, their chair at the time was integral piece of this and building it and getting it set up as far as giving us the manuals and the process and how they worked. We had to learn that every time we had server issues or we loaded enhancements or patches, we needed to make sure the servers came back up and everything was functioning, because we run a phantom process in order to get that every 15-minute run. A process within Colleague to go out and pull those files in from the server. If something went wrong in the ERP and we had a little glitch, we need to know to go back and restart that so that it didn't get behind. If the servers for some reason went down for maintenance or whatever, we needed to know that we needed to make sure that everything got downloaded and we were back in shape, which is why that archive file was really helpful. Training advisors and faculty on how to locate the screens and how to use the diagnostics once we provided them with it. That is an ongoing process. Dottie did a training with our advisors just this past month, and you'd be surprised how many people didn't even know what we had available. Of course, that's a area where there's a lot of turnover, and so it really helps to keep that as part of a regular training. My IT staff kind of differs from a lot of IT staff, I think, in that maybe not so much, but I have members on almost every council at our institution so that we can hear what the issues are and what the problems are, so that we can come back and see if there's a way that we can remedy those. Okay, so I've been very fortunate, and I've been also fortunate to get people who've held those types of roles on the colleges so that when they come into my shop, they have that background knowledge and can talk that same language, which was extremely beneficial when we're trying to implement something like this. I can't take all the credit. My vision was we're going to do this, and we started it in June to be ready in August. Actually, probably in May we started kind of working on it, brainstorming. But and I look at it because I come from the state reporting background, and I work closely with Vicki McGee in the back of the room, who's my state reporting person, reporting specialist. And So we wanted to make sure that we had everything we needed for state reporting, everything that the advisors needed, everything that the testing people needed, everything the faculty needed. So that was our whole goal in doing this. Now this is just an example of placement by Northlake. I wish all of our placement was this easy. We are currently working on trying to get all of our colleges to work with a similar pattern so that we can be more proactive on the IT standpoint, that our advising plan is a lot more clear, our developmental advising plan is a lot clearer. But everything being new, we had different people with different ideas on how they wanted to take this on, and so we've got a general uniformity, but we just aren't quite there. We hope by February we are clean slate, everybody's got the same page, and we can print nice advising reports to our students telling them how they're going to move forward. Any questions? I will gladly share any of our coding with colleagues, schools, or just the process and who we worked with at Pearson and at College Board. Of course, it was Chantal at College Board, but we had great help from Pearson to get it all going. And it's been in effect since we went live with TSIA. So it's been, what, almost 4 years? 3 or 4 years anyway. The diagnostic part was a little bit later, but we had to wait for Pearson to be able to send that data to us. But like I said, on August 26th, when TSIA went live, we were importing test scores and marking PAA on students and the whole deal. I think we were too fast. Nobody appreciated us. But we continue to grow, and I can tell you now, they do appreciate it, because when something doesn't happen, the scores aren't coming in, we get a call. Student took a test 20 minutes ago, we can't see their score. We go, oh, go check, and there's probably a server issue or something, and we get it rolling back up again. I know I kind of skipped over it, but I don't do well with cameras. So anything else you have questions about?
I was wondering, because this is one of the things, and you addressed the duplicates, but do you go as far as, okay, so they took the test 3 times and finally they passed.
Mm-hmm.
So do you capture, I mean, honestly, it's great that you keep the trail, but do you capture the one that passes so that that's the one that goes into the system?
Actually, we have subroutines on both our TSUM screen, on our stack screen where we put the grades in. Our TSUM is where we put our test information. All of those, when they get updated, actually go through our TSI subroutine and evaluate and give the actual status for a student. So their status will change throughout periodically. Yeah. So, and of course, once you're passed, we don't reevaluate you.
Right, yeah, you're done.
And that is one of the issues with manually inputting scores, is they can accidentally type the wrong score in. And when that happens, they can get a passing test, a TSI status in an area. And as my staff can tell you, that is a major headache, because they have to go not only delete the test scores, but they got to go delete the TSI status. They got to go delete the prereqs that were given because you met that standard. All of that has to be done.
Facing the student
who thought they were passed, and then you're saying, sorry, you really do have to take.
Especially when like an ABE 5 shows up as an SAT score. So now, you know, you just typed it in the wrong box.
Right.
Yes, and if you looked at, for those who are colleague, if you looked at, we have admissions, which is where we keep all of our TSIA tests, but the diagnostic data is actually down in the placement value. It's not up at the top. So it's in a different area because it's not considered making an admission. So we do keep it all. Anything else? And as I stated, you can find me in the directory for TACRO to reach me, or
It's on that handout.
and yeah, you got it on the handout. I'll be happy to work with any of your IT staff. We believe in sharing code. We don't hide it. We don't keep it to ourselves. So if we can help you in any way, I only have about a third of my staff here, so there's still staff back at home to help.